Hey everyone, how are y'all doing? Welcome and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm talking about my favorite hard-hitting contemporaries. If you've been around my channel at all, you know that contemporary is my favorite genre, and an extension of that, I really do enjoy some hard-hitting contemporaries, so I've picked a few off of my shelf that I really love and that I kind of want to recommend and talk about today, so let's just get into it. So the first two I'm actually going to lump together because they're by the same author. So that is They Both Die at the End and History's All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. Adam Silvera definitely has a reputation of writing really sad, heartbreaking, hard-hitting contemporaries, and he lives up to that reputation, let me tell ya. So first I read History's All You Left Me by him, and this book destroyed me. So we basically follow our main character Griffin, and he's currently mourning the loss of his ex-boyfriend Theo, who was recently drowned. And at Theo's funeral, Griffin meets Theo's current boyfriend Jackson. They end up forming this unlikely friendship and bond because they're both the only ones who know what it's like to have been loved and to be in love with Theo, and they help each other grieve and mourn their loss. And it's just like obviously a really sad book. Griffin always thought that him and Theo would find their way back to each other. I'm kind of get to see him come to terms with the fact that even though he did believe that they were always going to get back together, there's now absolutely no chance of that happening because he is dead. And it's just so heartbreaking, but it's also like a little bit hopeful as well. There is a bit of happiness thrown in. I have not read this book in 3 years. I've never reread it, and I really want to. I think I'm gonna do it next year, so I can't remember like all of the details. I just remember that this is really sad. I mean, any book that deals with death in any sort of way is bound to be sad, and this one definitely is, but I really recommend it if you're interested in it because it was just so good. I loved the characters, and I loved also just like the way it's told. It's told in different timelines, so we get to see times of Griffin with Theo like in flashbacks, and then we also get to see the present where he's dealing with the loss of Theo. It was just so well done, well crafted, well written, and I'm a huge fan of it. And then we have They Both Die at the End, and this one also deals with death but in a different way. So we basically live in this like near future society where there's this thing called Deathcast. So essentially you get a phone call on the day that you're gonna die, and they tell you that at some point during the day you are going to die. You don't know when and you don't know how, but you just know that you're gonna die. And there is this app called The Last Friend where you can connect with other people who are dying on the same day that you are. Our main character Mateo gets a phone call from Deathcast saying he's gonna die. He goes on the Last Friend app and he meets up with a guy named Rufus, and they kind of spend their last day together. They fall in love, and it's a really beautiful story, but at the same time you know that they're gonna die. I say this every time I talk about this book, and I've heard many people say it, but you know that they're gonna die at the end because it's called They Both Die at the End. The whole concept is about them dying, so you know they're gonna die, but it does not stop you from the entire time you're reading it hoping that they're gonna live, that somehow Adam Silvera has tricked us and that they're gonna live, but they don't. I'm here to tell you, they don't, okay? They don't survive the end of this book. Like, it's just kind of funny that you know they're gonna die and you know this book's gonna be sad, yet like we read it anyways and still have that hope that they're gonna live. But I just thought this book was beautiful. I have a lot of tabs in it. I have a lot of tabs in History's All You Left Me as well, but they were both just so beautifully done, and I'm a huge fan of them. And I can't wait till Adam Silvera comes out with a new contemporary book because he's currently writing his fantasy series, and I just want more contemporaries. So I really love these ones. I really recommend them. Just know that they deal with death and they're really sad. This next book's gonna be a bit harder for me to talk about because I don't really remember too much from it, but it is The Last Time We Say Goodbye by Cynthia Hand. All I remember about what this book's about is our main character's brother has committed suicide, and it's about our main character Lex trying to put her life back together after this and dealing with being known as the girl whose brother killed themselves. That's basically all the details that I remember about this book, but I remember really loving it. I remember it being really sad. Again, we deal with death. A lot of these books deal with death. Death is sad. Makes sense. But I just remember this book being really sad, and seeing our main character dealing with the loss of her brother and trying to like navigate the end of high school while dealing with this, and kind of trying to figure out what happened and why her brother did this and what led him to it, I think is a part of the story. I don't know. Like I said, I can't talk about specifics. I do want to reread this book. Maybe I'll do it this year or next year. I'm not really sure, but I want to reread this book soon because I did really enjoy it. I really enjoy books about death, apparently. Yeah. I also think that the writing was really well done. I really like Cynthia Hand. The only other book I read by her was The Afterlife of Holly Chase, but I really enjoyed it, so I definitely recommend this book if you like books about death and sadness, and if you like to have your heart broken. The next book is A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahereh Mafi. This was her very first contemporary novel, and let me tell you, she knocked it out of the park. So this book is about a post 9/11 world. It's 2002, so only a year after 9/11 has happened. And we follow our Muslim main character, Shireen. As she goes through high school, she's tired of being stereotyped, she's tired of being judged, and she's just trying to navigate this post 9/11 world. She meets a boy named Ocean. They might fall in love. There's breakdancing, which is really cool, and obviously because this book deals with the aftermath of 9/11 with a Muslim main character, it's bound to be sad. There's bound to be some racism going on and some sad shit happening, but I just remember it being so beautiful. If you guys know anything about Tahereh Mafi, you know that she has this beautiful lyrical writing style, and it's no different with this book. I have so many tabs because I just loved it. There's so many like good lines in this book, so many good moments. Ocean and Shireen are just adorable, and I just remember really loving this book. So while it does deal with heavy topics and it is a bit more of a hard-hitting contemporary, there are some good moments in here as well. So you don't have to go into this book thinking it's gonna be like completely like a downer. Like, it's got some good stuff in there too. But I thought I would mention it anyways because I do remember this book being quite sad. I do have quite a few blue tabs in here, but at the same time it's just like a really beautiful book. It's definitely one of my favorites, and again, I really want to reread this book. I was supposed to reread it in September and I didn't get around to it, so hopefully soon. The next book on this list is Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake. Basically follow our main character Mara. One of her best friends comes to her and tells her that Mara's twin brother Owen has raped her, and this whole book is basically about Mara trying to come to terms with how her twin brother, who she's immensely close with, who she loves to death, could be capable of doing something like this. But it's also about her trying to support her best friend in this time and trying to just grapple with what to think and dealing with her whole family. And it's also about her uncovering some things about herself that she might have pushed down and forgotten about. And it's just like a really beautiful book. Obviously trigger warnings for sexual assault and rape. I just remember this book being really sad and really hard. I have a wrap up for when I read this book where I go into a ton of detail about it, and I also talk about the next book on this list in that video as well, so I'll link that up in the cards if you guys want to go check it out. I read this back in 2018. Things are a bit fuzzy in my head because I have a terrible memory, but I just remember this being really sad. I have a lot of sad tabs in here and angry tabs in here. I just remember being so sad about what was happening to these characters and what they were dealing with, and feeling so bad for Mara, who's having to deal with finding this thing out about her brother that could potentially change everything, while also trying to like comfort her best friend. And then I feel terrible for her best friend, and just everything about this book is so sad. I don't remember how it ends. I hope it ends well. I think it ends well. I can't remember. Just know going into this book, it's really sad. It deals with rape and sexual assault, so if you can't handle that, don't pick this book up, or just be very cautious. Definitely deserves to be on a list about hard-hitting contemporaries. And the last book I'm going to talk about today is Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. I talk about this book all of the time, so if you've not picked it up yet, what are you doing? Like, how many times do I have to talk about it before somebody reads it, you know? So this is another really hard-hitting book, obviously. So this book is basically about our main character Claudia, and she has noticed that her best friend Monday has gone missing. She's not around, not answering phone calls or anything. She's just gone, and nobody else seems to care but Claudia. And so this book's kind of about Claudia trying to find Monday, trying to figure out why other people don't care or don't seem to notice that Monday is gone. And it's just like a really heartbreaking book, and every time I think about this book I just want to cry because it's so sad. So this book has like I don't remember all the trigger warnings for this book, but I know it deals with murder and obviously missing people, and I'm sure there's more. Abuse. I'm sure there's more and I'm just not thinking about it. I wish there was trigger warnings in the front of this book, but this book was so heartbreaking. All my tabs are either angry or sad because this book made me angry. This book made me feel so heartbroken, and I felt so bad for Claudia and for Monday and for all the characters involved, and I was also just so angry at the injustices that happened in this book. It was just so well written as well, and I really enjoyed it. Tiffany D. Jackson is really good at writing a hard-hitting contemporary, and this is definitely like one of the first books that I always think of when I think of sad books, hard-hitting books, heartbreaking books. And if you can handle the subject matter of all the trigger warnings that I mentioned earlier, I definitely recommend this book. But if you can't, avoid it. Like, don't read it if it's gonna be triggering to you. But I know that I love this book a lot and I really want to reread it because I've lost a lot of details. And it's also told in a bit of a confusing way because it's told in multiple timelines. So it'll say like the before the before, or after the before. Like, it has like really weird timeline things that's confusing when you read it for the first time. But I think that because I've read it, it'll be like less confusing when I reread it. This is definitely one of my favorites and I definitely recommend it. So those are all of the hard-hitting contemporary books that I'm going to talk about today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a huge thumbs up. Comment down below what your favorite hard-hitting contemporary is, and also comment a crying emoji, like, you know, like the streaming tears emoji if you stay till the very end. Subscribe if you've not yet already, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!